You're listening to the Out of the Box podcast with Timmy, Halisa and Sinosure.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Box. I am Halima and there's Sinosure and Timmy. Hello, how are you? How are you doing?
Hello. How are you?
Good, we are good. So today we are going to start this conversation straight up. And I want to start with a monologue. I just want to narrate something, actually. I thought this is a good way to start, right? I've heard mothers from other planets, but they're still like us. I've heard a lot of people complain or give this worry, actually, especially people that just started having children. They're often worried about the age they need to start teaching their children etiquette, and not just etiquette around other people or just generally how to function as a normal person in the society. But they start asking questions like, when do I start teaching my boy child or my African child or my black looking child how they should act when they are stopped by the police? So this is something I've heard on the media. I've heard people actually say it in real life too. And I just started thinking, with the recent happenings that have been happening in the world, especially in Nigeria, it got me thinking and asking this question that have we gotten to a place as Nigerians where we feel like, or where we might have to start teaching ourselves or teaching kids how to react or act when they are stopped by law enforcement agencies or when they are stopped by the police? So not just children, actually, we can expand it to adults. Have we gotten to that place where adults need to start learning, children too need to start learning how to act when they are stopped by the police? So let's try to start by that and expand the conversation from there. What's your thought about this?
Yeah, I think very importantly, we need to find a way to separate this conversation. I mean, the contexts are quite elucidate, if you will allow me to use that word, like they are not clear. For instance, if you were talking about the US setting, for instance, I would suppose that, okay, they probably have given in to a lot of anomalies that they are seeing there. And then it has now gotten to a point where they are just saying, okay, you have to comport yourself. And perhaps the police have enough education to do what they have to do. But, I mean, which is the standard operating procedure anyways, or standard rule of engagement. But in the African, or let me say particularly Nigerian case, we're in a place where it's a much complicated thing to look at. For instance, policemen can actually just have issues with you because of the way you look. They can have issues with you, and everybody here is almost of similar skin tone. Policemen can have issues with you because of the tonality of your voice. They can have issues with you because you look daring. They can have issues with you because you look a little scared, maybe due to the fact that you've heard about a lot of atrocities that they've perpetrated in the past. I mean, you are living the trauma and then they still find it hard, right, to cope with you due to that. So it is, to me, a much more complicated case we are going to look at the Nigerian case compared to the US case. And it will now boil down to even understanding, really, how did we come about the policing system that we are currently running, right? How did we arrive here? Yeah? For instance, in the US case, you can easily ascribe the origination of their policing to the conversations around slave raiding, slave police, kind of. Yeah, you practically are just trying to safeguard your plantation in such a way that your slaves will not escape. Very importantly, or you might not even take it a little bit further and come down to Nigeria. When exactly did policing start in Nigeria? And to understand that, you need to go to the NPF's website, right, and see the history as actually...
That's the Nigerian Police Force website.
Yeah, the Nigerian Police Force. I suppose they have actually stopped answering Nigerian Police Force. I think they are now the Nigerian Police, but their website still carries npf.gov.ng anyways. And yeah, you will see them telling you that Nigerian police had its origin in Lagos, and then it started in the year 1861, where a question of 30-man consular guard became a thing, right? They expanded this guard to about 600 in 1891, and they renamed it the Hausa Police. You get, because of the enlistment of some captured runaway Hausa slaves at Jeba by L.T. Glover Aben again in 1879. Hausa Police was further enlarged by the recruitment of more men and renamed the Hausa Constabulary. It then consisted of 1,200 officers and men commanded by an Inspector General of Police. One very important thing here is all of these things that I've mentioned started in the 18th century.
That's
Nigeria
before Nigeria was formed.
Nigeria became a country, really. The name Nigeria came up in 1914, isn't it, for the first time? So it speaks to the fact that the Nigerian police, as it is today, predates the Nigerian state. So it now begs the question, like, have we changed the modalities of policing from then come to now, or we are just still perpetuating the structure, the modus operandi that they've had since then? So it is pretty much a very, very big, or let me say, detailed conversation if we are going to have it. Unfortunately, we are going to have it here today. Thank you.
Yeah, that's interesting because we, like you said, right, the modality might not have changed, and we have had a lot of cause to keep asking for reforms in a lot of sectors, and the police just happens to be one. And we had this big outburst by people in 2020, which led to, or which had the hashtag NSAS. A lot of people wanted that police system to be reformed completely. So there have been different things that people have been asking of the police. We could go all the way listing out all of those things.
I mean,
And
there's a lot, really.
yes, there's a lot that has been asked of the police. And I don't know that the ordinary man has had any impact, because there have been recent cases that has made us to believe that many things have not changed. Actually, many things like the violation of people's rights hasn't really changed, and we've seen a lot of videos. Some of them will go viral, some people will not care about others, or some people might decide to care too much about some other people's own cases. So yeah, we've just had the cause for alarm recently that has made us, see here to talk about this particular conversation around policing in Nigeria, policing in general, police brutality. Who is the victim? What does the constitution say? Has there been reforms being done? What happened in 2020 with the Police Act? What happened and what's happening, and what should we be looking forward to happen? Right. So let's just go straight to the case study. What's happening right now, and why are people asking for reform again, or why are people actually talking about the institution of the police? It can't just go away, because it's always in the news continuously. Right now we have a case actually that we need to closely look into, not just because of the noise around the case, but because of what that might lead to, what we would or what we should be asking of either the institution and of the citizen themselves. That's why I brought out the example that, do we need to socially reform people, or should we need to start teaching these things in school, or should we put a lot of responsibility on the institution as itself to reform, so that just that in itself would trickle down to people? And please pick up the conversation anyway. It's just me listing out a few things that I think is important that we have conversations around.
Yeah, so I feel like just to dial back in something that Sinosha said that made me remember a particular experience, when he was talking about like the Nigerian police and some of the crazy reasons that they might get aggressive with you, sometimes from just the way that you talk, sometimes from just the way that you you look at them, or sometimes just the way that you look, or sometimes even just asking them a question can be like a trigger to get them to actually manhandle you. And it reminds me of one experience that I had at a particular time. I think about 10, 11 years ago, when I used to run one cyber cafe business then, and I was the administrator of the cyber cafe. So I remember that day they stormed into my place because it was just by the roadside, and then they started harassing everybody. And as the young CEO of the cafe, then I had my legs on the table. I was just I think it was early in the morning before so many people came in, so I was just like with my with the few guys that used to work under me, and myself, and I just had my legs on the table. And when they came in, they were asking questions, so I wasn't really moved. I think at that point I was not like, I had not witnessed a lot of police brutality, like how we have it now. Because what we used to know then is just that normal, me, I was born, I was still very young in the military era, so what we were used to more is this the stop and search, or whatever they do, your particular, and all those things that they do. So as a young person, I was not really that much intimidated. But that particular experience, they came in and I had my legs on the table, and they were asking some questions, and before one of them just landed me a very dirty slap, like, hey, how can police be talking to you and you have your legs on the table? So it's a crazy experience, and all this happened in less than about 3 to 4 minutes, and I was actually very upset, but it just I just wanted to like share that personal experience, because sometimes when you're talking about all these things, you have to always bring in personal experiences, because the kind of toxic space that we have right now, because almost every discussion, because we just finished an election, is most likely linked to your political leaning and everything. So sometimes you need to share all those personal experiences. But just to also talk about something that you said, Halisa, like when you spoke about the current case that's out there now with Seun Kuti, where you said that people are calling for reform. I don't feel like many people are calling for reform again, just because we're done with an election season. A lot of people are calling for prosecution and not really reform, because they just want to see Shehu and his views about Nigerian political parties.
Like spoils of war.
So they just want him gone.
Yeah.
But then speaking about at least a few conversations have been raised, about again, Nigerian police, maybe because what happened, the altercation that happened on Third Milan Bridge between him and the police officer, where he was filmed, slapping a police officer. I think that just like some conversations that I've had with some people, and some of the conversations that are out there, a lot of people are calling for some sort of or some people, not a lot of people, just a few people, are actually saying that maybe if there was a body cam on the police officer, or a dash cam on his car, maybe that could have helped us to know what really happened. And this is part of the things that in the past a lot of people have raised, issues that some people have raised that could have helped in this particular scenario. So I think that it will have made it easier.
Yeah, so we'll definitely go down the list, the list of the request. And I think that came with a lot of protest. So we will definitely run down that list. But you talked about something that I wanted to even point out for sure. This search thing, it seems like it's a very normal police operation. It feels like the police are existing just to search people, right? Because I can't remember the last time that something was happening, and I thought, oh, let's call the police. Let's go. In fact, they should do a survey. I think any YouTuber out there that's interested, go around the country or go around a city, go around a neighborhood, ask them to check their contact if they have ever dialed the police phone number in Nigeria, right? When you're watching Hollywood movie, you easily just hear 199, call 199 or 119. Here it's kind of like so do a survey and see if anybody has actually called the police, right? To come and protect them. Why are you laughing?
Or like what?
No, you're in danger, right? You're in danger, you call the police, right?
Well,
just do it. Do a survey, right? Do it. Someone should just do a social experiment. Have you ever called the police
I have once. There was one
directly
time,
on the
there was
police
one time
line?
my house was under attack, and I called them, and then yeah, I called. I've called.
How far?
Have you called before?
How was the
There
turnout?
was no reaction, but I called.
Because
At
I
Yes.
least
have
at
never
least they
had
picked my call.
Oh, that's quite impressive. They will clip that now and put it on.
They picked my call, but
Anyways,
there
that's
was
how
once
did
somebody
it,
came to my house, and but then that's not to. I don't want to, to sound like they've not responded to other people, like yeah.
no, because me, I don't feel like the first line of action, right, to people is called the police. Because I've had many things. I don't want to run down my history with people and just my relationships in life. Is just generally people have had cause to call the police, but I don't think the first line of action was let me call the police. Maybe the first line of action was okay, let me call this brother I know that's in the police. But the first line of action has not just been let me call the official phone number of the police. I haven't seen that before. And that's to tell you something is not right, right? I mean, yeah,
What's the
that's just
police
something
number in
I just felt
Nigeria?
like. Is it 12112? What's the number? Oh my god!
I think
Don't set
112
me up
is
for
one of the
dragging.
emergency numbers, though. I don't even know the one, but I think it's no. In every country, when you dial 911, I think it redirects 911 calls to towards the police number in Nigeria. But I think every state has their own emergency contact. I think that's it. But then you like most Nigerian police stations publish the numbers of their DPOs and their contacts, the people that you can contact in case of emergencies, or if it's a domestic violence case or whatever it is.
Yeah, there should definitely have
So
one general one, and that one can redirect to the people that's necessary to, because they would have the location, they would have all of this information of people's cell phones, the addresses, and once your location is on, they should be able to find you anywhere you are. Right? I mean,
I mean,
where we are talking about,
has any one of you checked?
I'm checking and it's giving me a whole list. It's giving me Abia phone number
a whole list
by
of
state,
what?
Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, of contact, the contact line
Oh, okay.
on the Nigerian Police Force website.
We
So
can actually call
situation
them
room
live. We can actually call them
ng.org.
live now and see if they respond.
And see.
I think very importantly, we also need to know that it is a crime to call that number.
To call
Yeah.
when there's no emergency, right?
When there's no emergency. Yeah. The such call.
Is it would you call it a crime? Is a misdemeanor, I guess.
There was a.
I
There
mean,
was a.
it does.
There was a recent
Okay.
conviction on a subject. We had a recent conviction where someone was calling a toll-free number for fun.
But then, but then
But it
if you
happens
want to
everywhere,
actually,
though. Like, for example, if you call, let me say, if you call the emergency, the ambulance, and there's no patient, then yes, it is, and they'll fine you. There's a fine, a stable fine, and you know, okay, if you do this, you pay this fine. There's always that. So I'm not sure that's clearly stated, but yeah, it's not right. Nobody should call when there's no emergency, especially in a case where we do not even have enough police officer to take care of the security of people. So yeah, definitely. I don't think we can try it out for just for experiment. But people that are willing to try, there are people that are willing to try those things. They educate the society. I'm sure there is something that will cover them to try it out. If you're into those kind of things, please do it and share us the link.
But so what you guys
Let's
are telling me now,
defend the
what you guys are
government.
telling me is that if I actually call them and they come, and that's a crime. So what about if they don't come?
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh. Another angle.
No, actually, I do not think it is necessarily a problem that they do not come, because it's the modus operandi that they do not show up in the first place.
Exactly. And why is that? Why
That
is
they
that?
come.
Why can't I just call like the police if there's trouble and they show up? Because I don't want to
Like,
I want to be a little bit objective,
you should be,
and not say like,
you,
oh, if
you,
you call them, if there's crisis in this place, they won't come, because I know that, obviously they would go. I don't know, but I know that some people can call and get a response, and if there's like a robbery or something, maybe, but then,
I have, I have
yeah.
done, I have done my study of the Nigerian police. They were not made to defend you, to protect you. And this might look a little bit controversial, but no, they were not made
But that's not the new
to
that's
do
not the
that.
new police force. That maybe that's the old one, because the new one that we have right now, the rebranded one, the after NSAS, I think like there's a whole lot of repackaging, and I think they're serving some people, you know.
I think you need to also understand that there are classes in every society. I'm not sure neither myself nor you belong to the. Either myself or you belong to the group of people that they are
How
supposed to serve.
why are you saying
And
you
don't
and
for-
I? How do you know I don't belong to the class of people they serve?
You don't know if Durotimi is
hold
like,
on,
this thing.
I am not sure. I am not sure you are able to reasonably get six policemen to guard your house. Those are the people they are intended to serve. And don't forget, like I was saying earlier, practically in the Nigerian case, they are not ashamed to say it. Yeah, are you there, guys?
Yes.
Can you hear me? They
Yeah,
are not afraid
yeah,
to
yeah,
say
yeah.
it. I'm looking at it, right, on MPF's website now. Let me read the first paragraph for you of how the Nigerian police came about the about us portion of their website. The Nigerian police force is the principal law enforcement agency in the country. It had its origin in Lagos following the creation of the 30-man consular guard in 1861. The small guard was subsequently expanded to 600 men in 1891, 30 years after, and renamed Hausa Police because of the enlistment of some captured runaway slaves at Jeba by L.T. Glover Aren. Yeah? Again, in 1879, the Hausa Police was further enlarged by the recruitment of more men and renamed the Hausa Constabulary. It then consisted of 1,200 officers and men commanded by an Inspector General of Police. What is key here is enlistment of some captured runaway Hausa slaves. Hausa Police, Consular Guard, its origin in Lagos, and the timeline, which is the most important. Nigeria became in 1914, a country in 1914, but these guards have been around even before Nigeria. I don't know, maybe this makes sense to you. What exactly were their duty and function? The duties of the Hausa Constabulary entailed attending to the security needs of the colonial administration, which encompassed both military and civil police function. It, however, was largely military in character and posture. One of such military duties was the provision of a detachment of 8 officers and 51 men for the Aroshuku expedition. They are not hiding these things. Nigerians don't just check for these things. What I have read so far presupposes that the police of Nigeria were initially set up to pursue a colonial agenda, to pursue the service to the colonial leads that were in Nigeria then. So literally, they are a relic of colonialism. They are a relic of colonialism. I don't know, maybe this makes sense to us, guys.
Yeah, but
So
yeah.
since then, but our constitution was amended now in 1999. Since then, there hasn't been any change, right? Because maybe if there were changes on paper, it hasn't really been projected onto the people, because many people have requested for this police reform, but it hasn't really taken shape in a way that we would would like it to be, right? So I was checking because this search thing, like I said, it seems like that's the only place you actively see police functioning. It's the stop and search, and that's one thing we've seen with this case too. We don't know who said the person should stop first. Where we saw the what we saw in the video was just the assault, so we did not see what happened before then. But we've gotten a little bit of information, of background information towards why the whatever happened. But we have to still wait for the court to clarify or to give their own verdict. But then this police search and stop thing, there's this site I like to use when I'm looking at anything concerning law that's related to Nigeria, and it's called Law Paddy. Paddy's friend in Nigeria. What language is that? Paddy me, that's Yoruba. Okay. So they said, does the police have the right to stop and search? They said the Police Act in Section 29 states that a police officer may detain and search any person whom he reasonably suspects of having his possession or conveying in any manner anything which he has reason to believe has been stolen or otherwise unlawfully detained. So when the police officer thinks that something has been stolen, they can stop you and they can search you. It's an act. It's even in the law that they can do these things. So with that, I don't know. I don't know if it looks like, I would assume that the police has complete right. They don't even need a warrant to search you. When they stop you, they do not need a warrant to search you. So that's just where we are at. I think that many things has not really changed, and we've seen that. I don't think that many people have been protected, but with recent activity that Twitter has been showing us, we've seen a few cases where when people are brutalized by the police, it seems like those people are reprimanded. Because this Ben Hundein, the police, the chairman, their oga, the police headquarters there, he always posts things.
I think
he's not there anymore.
He's a state police public relation officer for Lagos State.
Or maybe that's why he's the one publishing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. So because they try to publish when the police are reprimanded, and they try to just keep people up to date with those information. So it seems as though that they have been doing a few things lately, but Duretimi pointed that it might just be repackaging whatever it is that they are doing. Obviously it doesn't seem like it's broad enough, right? But when police should stop you, I feel like there are a few things you should know as a person. Would you first of all, ask for warrant, for search warrant? Does that work for Nigeria? Because if it doesn't state,
I don't necessarily.
I think I was
feel like they need a search warrant to check. I don't think like.
I was reading the case law. I think they usually have disagreement even on what. Maybe they need to present a search warrant before they can go ahead with that or not. So I think it's a bit controversial. I have heard Barrister Femi Falana speak on that. I have heard Inibe as well speak on it. But it's even got to an extent where they were talking about people checking other people's phone until the IGP now to say nobody has the right to check other person's phone. So it's a little blurry there. But I think the normal operating procedure is that if you want to search, right, anyone under any guise, ordinarily you should have a warrant.
But even as like the IGP and several top police officers have come out to say that you don't necessarily need they should not have the right to search your phone. A lot of police officers still do that even up to this day. So why is the burden, because you're arming someone, you're giving them guns and live bullets, and you're putting them out on the streets, and you want me to bear the brunt of having to challenge a police officer that, oh, you don't have the right to search my phone, and even up to today, we're still seeing a lot of and that's if you're a lot of videos, and that's if you're lucky to even have someone close by to you that can actually do a recording or, capture them harassing you. I don't feel like if you and a police officer are in a in a very enclosed space where there are not much eyes, that you would have that, right to you, or not that you have the right, but you have that, audacity to be dragging with them, because they have like they have guns loaded with live bullets, and they can shoot you at any particular point, right? So I feel like if the IG is telling us that, there was a lot of contradiction, I think now maybe post NSAS, because when we're talking about like this police brutality issue, we might need to look at, there's a pre-NSAS era and there's a post-NSAS era, because I feel like as much as police brutality has not stopped in Nigeria, a whole lot, there was a mass awakening as to like the rights that people actually have, right? So my own issue is, why do Nigerians, or civilians, have to be at the brunt of challenging police officers and saying, oh, you don't have a right to check my phone? It's and the police officers, after being given instructions from their superior officers, still engage in these things, still check people's, even up to date, they still do it. So I feel like it just contradicts itself. But then I like wanted to say something about like the whole idea of like, because police force, was not structured to serve us, or it came from that colonial era, or it was something about slaves before. I feel like it's a good, it's really good to understand the history of how it was set up, but I don't feel like that is the reason why they still maintain that oppressive structure, because it had to start from somewhere, right? It did have to start from somewhere, whether it was set up by the colonial masters and everything. It had to start from somewhere. But I just feel like the entirety of the Nigerian state is so oppressive, and it goes beyond even the Nigerian police force, and it's not because it was set up to protect, to maybe at a particular point it might have been set up to protect them, but that should not be the reason why it still sustains this way that their modus operandi, and how it affects Nigerians. So that's just it.
There is a psychological part to evaluating this, and to do that, right, is to actually look at the history, like I've said earlier. And very importantly, when did the Nigerian police force, right? When exactly, right? Where they, we had our Star Constabulary, we had all these Royal Niger companies, police constabulary. When exactly did they merge? They merged in 1930. And they were the colony's first national police when they were aggregated. But the reason why I'm citing this is to see how this could have trickled into the culture of the institution. Don't forget, when we got independence in 1960, I've always said this thing, even though it seems like I'm oversimplifying it. To understand the psychic of people, know what they were set up for. When we celebrated independence in 1960, the political elites that emerged therefrom, right, they took police to their respective region. Now, what is the lesson I want us to take here? When these police were merged, both from the north and the south in 1930, before it was broken down on a regional basis sometimes later, there was the place of naming it, and it was named the Nigeria Police Force. That name, we took it to like 2020 or 2021 before it changed. So that name bears with it a spirit. And I cannot understate this. That's why if you're a Yoruba person, you will understand that the name that people answer, right, as a way, right, of reflecting them or reflecting to them, depending on how you want to look at it. So if the Nigerian police force, right, if they are today defending the interest of the political elite, right, if they are today serving more people who have money, upper class citizens in terms of wealth and all of these things and means to wealth, if they are today majorly found in the houses of political elite, right, it just pretty much speaks to the structure, the engagement, the arrangement that they've had even during the colonial era. And this speaks, see, listen to them talking, listen to the Nigerian police talking. Bail is free, written on the wall, and then Nigerian police will tell you to pay for bail. Even when it has been investigated, the case that you were probably detained for, and then you were supposed to be set free, right? That, oh, this person is not culpable or anything. They will still get money from you. It's a system of extortion, just like the colonial system was. And I am insisting on this colonial system because you know the way these things can be. If you do not find somewhere to pin it to, especially when it is so glaring in our face, right? You won't have any conversations to make, and that is why a lot of people think reform will not save the Nigerian police. When they said they stopped SARS in October 2020, have you not seen instances where the Nigerian police are still operating like SARS?
Yeah.
Are they still not maintaining some SARS
So
infrastructure?
what should be done?
They don't
Should
care
we
about.
scrap the entire force? What exactly are you proposing?
It is like a fish. I like to cite that analogy a lot, right? If you want to keep fish and you don't want it to decay, pardon me, I said decay. If you don't want it to decay, yeah, some kind of fishes, you just cut their head off. What does that mean to me in this case? I mean, there's a need for leadership. If a proper head is there, right, it will flow down. But if you continue to make people who have been in the system all along, right, the leadership, if you continue to make people who are used to the corrupt nature of the system, the leadership, then there is no point in trying to talk about reform because there's nothing that will change. And what we need really is a complete overhaul of that system. The Nigerian Police College is teaching a lot of things in legal, in all of these things. Immediately they leave that place, they forget all of those ethics, and they come out here and they assume the nature, the spirit behind the Nigerian police force before it became the Nigerian police recently.
Me, I feel like, right, if you reform one system, and you don't reform the society in itself, then there's going to still be a problem. Because I think that, for example, this might not really roll down well with a lot of people, because many people have been advocating for us to go back to our own customs, go back to the African way of doing things. But I think that sometimes people don't want to leave the bad part out of it and just maybe pick the good parts and, expand those things and make those things shine, but they would rather just pick the parts that might not really be favorable. Anyways, I said this because I feel like our culture.
May I suggest something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think you should not even give our culture any wahala at all. You people have a way of dragging our culture.
Let me just round this
Let
up.
me say this. Let me say this, pardon me, and it's very important. The police are like the house slaves that looks down on the slaves on the plantation because they think they are closer to the slave owners. Meanwhile, just like the slave on the plantation, they are as well a victim of the old system. But the fact that there's a gun in their hand, there is the handcuff, they have the tear gas, canister, amongst other things, they think perhaps they are different. They are not. They are a victim. And one thing that now is a very big concern, right, if you want to relate it with what is happening with Seun, for instance, is the fact that it is not only Seun that wants to slap a member of the Nigerian police in Nigeria. There are so many people, right? Maybe they don't have the clout. Maybe they do not have the kind of family name that can actually aid them in doing that. That's why a lot of them are quiet, right? It doesn't excuse the fact that slapping a policeman is not fine. It's not good, right? For me, that's where I stand.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. There are many people that would want to do it because of what has happened to them, right? It's reaction. That's a conversation on its own. But then still, I'm trying to say that many people in our society would slap, right? It's like, okay, someone does something wrong to you, you physically violate them. Someone do something wrong to you, even if it's your child, you say, okay, come in, you trash them, you physically violate them. So it's a system, and for me, culture sometimes is not that deep. It's just the way of life. This is how we live. When people do something wrong to you, you think it's okay to physically violate them, even if they are your child, if they are anybody close to you. It doesn't matter, and that's why we have cases of jungle justice, right? People they say you don't even need to shout the lay. You just need to say oh, and then they've like come together to beat somebody. So this physical violence thing is not very pronounced in some other places. I know that we try not to say that some kind of problems are very just very special to Africa, but I think that that case of physically violating people generally is something you see. It's very natural. People hit people, right? That's where I was coming from when I'm trying to talk about the cultural aspect of it. And it's not that deep. It's not like, okay, it's like it happened in the 15th century or whatever, and we're trying to not let it go. It's just how we're living right now is just a complete this thing. It's just, okay, you did something wrong to me, let me hit you. You stole my phone, let me hit you, right? Maybe it's because people do not believe that they can call the police or they can call somebody and actually get justice without them taking justice into their own hands. But many people might not even resort to that too. I yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. So it's a lot of work that needs to be done generally about what is violence. What exactly is violence? Because many people are arguing still on the side of Seun Kuti, right? Because we feel like when somebody does something to you, it's okay to actually do react in a certain type of way, and that's why people might not find it to be problematic, because we saw that, or from what we've seen, it hasn't been fully confirmed yet. We saw that the police tried to violate him. We don't know how it could have turned out, and then he reacted, and the way we react is like that. So is it wrong that people react that type of way, react in a way that they unleash on people physically? That's just what I'm trying to say, because it's not just shown.
Just like some people are very I don't know how to even put it, but as I said earlier on when we started this conversation, like a whole lot of, because we're just coming out of an election, this is my own honest thoughts. A lot of people are looking for justification to see other people, to bring other people down. So there's a side of the divide that Seun was very vocal against, and I just have to bring in all this context, right? There's a side of the divide, political divide, that Seun was, very vocal, about, and he really criticized them, and they really hate him. So those ones don't even want to see anything. They just want him down. They just want his head, right? And there's another side of the divide that supported as very terrible individuals to be leaders of our great country, right? So those ones are, because of all the attack and because of all the criticism they got, they're just looking for a way that they can just they can just get back at anybody, especially those people who really criticize them, people like Seun. But let me say this, right? And I would like to state that nobody has a right to put hands on anybody, whether it's a police officer or not, but according to the law, most especially people on uniform, you don't have a right.
So if a mother, if you see a mom hitting her child, would that same thing apply?
Yes, you don't have a right to hit anybody. I think that we've not gotten there yet in Nigeria, but I think very soon we're going to get there, because it's not just about this. I think you've seen videos of people getting beat up, houseboy. I know you gave me the scenario of murder, but right, when a mother does it to a child and it's permitted, and then it's now, you might not even know if the person is the child's mother or whatsoever, right? And we recently saw a video of a child that I think it was a house help or something, and the child was beaten up to pulp, or what they call, how did they say it, right? So, and the eyes were swollen. The person could be, the little girl or boy could be barely see. So again, as I was saying, I feel like when you look at that Seun scenario, you might want to also consider the reputation that these officers have. All right, with all due respect, there are some good people, and there are a lot of bad people. Amongst some of these forcemen, there are some good, respectable ones, and there are some ones that are just, bad, and you might want to just look at like the reputation that they actually have, because we all know, almost all of us have had experiences with these people. Even when you're the most humble person, they can provoke you. And like, I remember my own little altercation with them. If you're not in the right frame of mind, you might just lose it. And you know how our environment is. It's not even a place where that even provides you with that kind of sane environment that yeah, everything is so oppressive, right? So, and if you look at the character of these people over time, a lot of stories that have been reported, even gentle people, even over, those days when we're growing up, it used to be over 20 naira, it used to be over 50 naira. So sometimes now you even see over 200 naira, and somebody mistakenly, or how they call it, accidental discharge. So according to what Seun put out there, Seun has said that the guy was trying to he was trying to get him killed. And even in that video, if you watch that video, right, this guy came out and challenged this guy, pushed him a couple of times, and then after that, he tried to get back into his car, but the policeman followed him to his car, and then he came back again, and whatever happened, slap happened, and everything. So I think it was wrong for Seun to hit him, but we don't know like the full story, because the only part that we saw was that 40 minutes clip. And then if we were to judge by the character of some of these guys, I mean, like everybody knows, except you want to be dishonest, right? But everybody knows that a whole lot of these officers, have killed people in the past. For look at Bolanle, the lawyer, just I think it was in last December, right? Look at the lawyer that was killed. She didn't even resist, she didn't fight, she was just trying to get her kids to get something from the mall or somewhere, or to go eat or something, and she was killed, right? Look at Colade Johnson that just went to a football viewing center to watch football, and he was killed. Those guys, there was no altercation, there was no fight, there was no resistance, they did not resist arrest or anything. So there's no how you're going to look at this scenario, except you just want to be, like I said, it's a political season, so a lot of people are just trying to see this guy's head hang from a stick. But if we want to look at it, we need to hear the full story and understand what happened, because the police unfortunately does not have that kind of reputation that we can say, oh yeah, he wasn't that, why did he do that, or he wasn't provoked into doing that, right? And so I think that's just it.
Yeah. I feel
Why
like
is
this is a
everybody so
clear
quiet?
case of
Are you
nobody
imagining everything I was saying?
nobody people not considering the process, right? People only look at the outcome of many things, and sometimes I think are people not really bothered about whatever happened? Context, does it really matter anymore? Because
The
when we just
context,
look at it,
the context does matter when it's someone that belongs to your lineage. The context matters. Yeah, that's the
right?
case. You might
Yeah,
want to. There is cause and effect, and the issue is for every action you see out there, there's going to be a level of reaction. Yeah, this is not to excuse the fact that you shouldn't eat anyone. Yeah, but it is just to speak to the fact that this person did this. It is wrong, albeit. Is it like this is a deliberate effort by even the police officer to reel him up? For instance, we are getting information that the police officer was actually drunk, right?
yeah.
If
Up
indeed the
until
police,
now, those are alleged information,
yeah,
right? So,
if the police
yes.
officer was indeed drunk at the point when that incident happened, will everybody still hold the same position they are holding now? Because it literally suggests that the police
It might be
officer.
hard for people to change their opinions. People are very angry. I honestly do not understand the reason for this anger. Let's say, example, a lot of things we are saying here is let's say, right? Let's say this happened and we saw that this man acted out of character. I expected people to be like, this is actually unfortunate. Let's see what happens in court, right? But people are angry, entertained, and happy, and I do not understand how
Don't
they
take
went
it,
from
don't take it away from Sean as well. He had to speak to
that.
something yesterday when he said, "Oh, he doesn't even intend to take the case up before," but some people had captured the moment, and there's a need to properly interrogate the issue and explain his own path of the whole altercation. Or a lot of people don't want to hear that it's an altercation. They want to hear that he brutalized them, right?
Because
That's
of
what a
their
lot of people
political
want.
leaning, right? That's what it is.
To some
Because all of a
extent, you might
sudden
say it
everybody
was
is so right, right?
as well, right?
Everybody is so right
In social media, yeah. The people who posted the
in quotes, honestly.
49 seconds video, right? That's, I believe that probably was intended to actually sway people in another way. Right? It doesn't excuse the fact that beating someone up, police or no police, is not good,
Exactly.
right? But the point is, if you put context to it, right, it might help. Just imagine that that man does not have the kind of family name that he probably has, does not have the kind of class that he belongs to in the society, right? Imagine it is just an ordinary everyday Nigerian, right? The police will take this person up, right? Tell a story for him. Maybe the person can't even afford to get a counsel. Tell a story for him, rope him, land him in jail, remand him there till forever. Right? That's why
You
the
know,
protest.
to be honest, the fact that you're even thinking of context because it's logical irritates some people, and that's so weird. Why are you so irritated and angered that people are trying to look at the context based on data, actually based on information of people that have gone through so much brutality? This is data, this is reported information, and people are trying to look at those information and create and see what might have happened. That irritates your guts. There are many people that are irritated and agitated. Like, why are you even trying to put context to this? Just look at the picture. There was an assault. Like, that's the end. Finished.
Yeah, they do not
Hello,
understand that.
people. Hello,
Again,
people.
when it's like
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can hear
go
you.
on,
when
please.
it's like when it's
Yeah, me, I'm talking to our audience, honestly, because most of the people that will be listening to us, honestly, you need to think about content. How does it not matter all of a
when
sudden?
it's because of who
Yes.
it's Tinubu's son that is buying an $11 million house, then we have to think about where the money we don't just focus on the story. We have to think about all the details. We have to think about there's so much to actually think about, and then we also have to look at it and how but in this particular case, it's straightforward. Just look at the video and just kill him, like just sentence him. I've seen a lot of people saying 10 years in prison. I've seen a lot of people saying 20 years in prison, but it just speaks to the Nigerian, like the state of mind, like in Nigeria, especially those of like the oppressed, like the people of Nigeria, how they see all these things. Because when it was Bolanle's time, we all sat down to look. Okay, how was she? Was she turning? Did they turn? Did they try to? When I think that we protect a lot. We protect the oppressive I don't know, I don't want to put it in a very in a way that might sound a little bit controversial, but Nigerians are currently the protectors of oppression. Because when it was that Bolanle's time, we're just the IG did not issue and order very fast. I don't know. I need to research, but I don't think that the IG even gets involved in all this. Because sometimes it's just the commissioner or whatsoever, or the PRO that will just put that, these men are on their way to the station or whatever, or they'll be arrested or whatsoever. But look at this case. We've already given this guy a judgment. Judgment has already been issued. Some people are even suggesting what the judge should give: 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But when it was Bolanle's time, we're trying to find out, okay, let's hear from the husband. Did they try to turn the car? Did they hit the policeman? And after everything that we found out, there was no logical reason why that guy would have shot that lady. And that was a productive. If you want to say, Seun is always rough, Seun is always smoking, Seun is always this. This was a lawyer. She looked decent from her this thing. Not to say that Seun is not decent. Seun is very decent too. But you cannot say, she used to smoke or she was what. She was just a very decent lady. a family woman with her husband and her kids in the car, and I didn't see all these questions being asked. So it's kind of like confuses me as to where we really are as a people. But I understand that we're just coming out of an election season, and Seun has called people thief. He has called them a lot of names, and now something happens. Just like if something should happen to someone like Showore breaks the law, or someone like who else now? In fact, anybody, as far as you had like a political leaning, right? You do remember what happened recently when one APC member did some things and they all came down on that person, right? So I think it's just the whole political coloration that is not making people really ask a lot of questions. And because this guy has been vocal against many of the kind of system that we run in Nigeria, I feel like people are just trying to clamp down on him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. But I also think we might actually be overlooking a lot of things if we limit it to the issue of political leaning as well. We might want to reconsider the fact that Nigerians, right, in our majority, we often tend to think in a binary way. It's either is right or wrong. There's no middle ground whereby both parties involved can be wrong. There is no middle ground where both parties involved can be right. Right? And oftentimes, right, we just end up in a place where we say, okay, this person is right. The police did not raise up his hand. He's right. No, that policeman looked like somebody who's probably afraid of Seun Kuti's popularity or family name, or that policeman has done something so grave that he cannot even imagine what will happen to him afterwards. Don't forget, Seun said this man followed him home.
He followed him home?
This man apologized.
Is that what he said?
This man apologized. That's what he said. Like, the guy followed him home, the guy apologized to him, and that was why he allowed the case be. That was why he didn't take it up ab initio, right? Like from the beginning.
So one thing that has worried me again is that why has like the officer not, like, I feel like the police has not put out their side. What happened? Everyone is just saying, "Oh, you put hands on an officer." Because maybe if there were like some seconds, or I want to ask you, like Halisa and like Sinosho, if we had seen like that video for like a little bit longer, maybe like a 2 minutes video where there was like a chase on Third Mainland Bridge, or the guy he was trying to corner them into like on Third Mainland. I'm just saying, like, if there was anything that we saw, if we actually saw the events that led into up onto the point where he came out of the car and he hit the guy and he slapped him, do you think that if there was actual proof that this guy could have been pushed inside the water with his wife and his child, do you think, like, we know the law, don't put your hands on a police officer, right? But do you think that would make you see, that would make you think a little bit different from how we're thinking now?
Nobody.
We are not thinking this. This is not group think here. I think people have different opinions, so it's not a we.
Just like me and you, we have different opinion on the subject. If I'm not mistaken, even though it might be in the same shape, but we have different opinions.
Yes.
But
so let's not.
But the point is, the essence of additional information.
No. Me, I cannot act like I'm just a one-dimensional thinker. I don't think in a certain way. In fact, when I'm even just looking, my head is spinning. So definitely I can't just look at this and say, okay, this is what it is, except if I make up my mind to say this is what it should be, right? So if you look at that image or that picture of him violating a police officer, it's clear what it is. It's clear that this is a crime being committed. But then you cannot say that particular event exists without context, without anything happening around it. So like you said, if it was a 2-minute video where we saw a chase, where we saw what actually happened, I think there are still a lot of people that would still take this chance. If there was any little thing incriminating about him, there are many people that have been on his issue, right? There are many people that would have still said, yes, this guy is wrong. There's nothing that they would have made that to be right to anybody, and that's why many people are so disgusted. And I'm looking at them like, are you really for real? And I think you've asked a lot of questions like along the line of how many people have you stood up for. This is not the first case of violence we're seeing, right? We've seen violence in different forms. How many people have you really spoken up for if we're talking about principles here? So, yeah, so now we're looking at you like, are you actually sincere about this, or there's something really pushing this whole agenda? But like I said, for me personally, if you're asking for my thought, I think that I see two things that would exist for me. It's like, one, it would be wrong completely to put your hand on somebody. But somebody was talking about a crime of passion, and I was very intrigued by that. If in the spur of the moment you felt your life was threatened, you felt like the life of people, which is like your child and your wife, which is sometimes even much more important than your own life, is threatened, you don't know how people react. And with people that have background or PTSD at this point, I haven't seen any of his psychological analysis. Please, nobody should quote me, I beg. But from history or from what we've seen, his dad has had a problem. His mom has not a problem. They've had traumatic experiences with the police. So the first reaction, even with someone like me that haven't even gone face to face with a police officer like that, when I see a police vehicle, a car coming next to me, my heart is already beating. So imagine if somebody has had so much encounter with the police, and the police comes to him and he says, wait, what is happening? What's about to happen here? In the spur of the moment, many things could have happened. So that's why I can't give.
These guys actually apprehend people. Do you remember all those horrors when they used to just come down from that their Kurupi boss? Not even then, even up to now, I'm sure that there are still similar cases, although it will have reduced by now. Where you just come out of this, they call them Kurupi bosses, right? Those mini bosses, right? And it just come out straight, like the way that they even, the way they even approach you is enough for your heart to be in your mouth. So I know again,
Perhaps that was why they removed force from their name, so that was a little. But it seemed like the force remover is not working.
That's like that's like removing moving I don't know. But force, does it change anything? Is it just about the mere name change? It's not about the change. It's about a change of their mindset entirely. I don't know. But do you feel like
I think what go ahead, go ahead.
I don't know, right? But when I was growing up, I used to just think that if I actually became president or something, I would just try and start all over, start the Nigerian police force all over, different uniform, different even different people, right? Different people, different.
Taking them away from the barracks.
You said what?
Take them.
I mean, the house nego, who think himself the house owner, they should return him back to among his people in the plantation. Maybe then he will feel a sense of integration, and then he will be able to imagine himself as a proper slave that he is, so that when people speak, they are protesting, they are doing it for every one of you, which is the context of disbanding barracks and making policemen live amongst the people they serve.
Did you also know that
there has been this talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's been there's been a conversation around state policing, right? So it's part of the things that they want to do with dissolution of power. Do you think those kind of things would actually help to take a proper?
I don't think it's going to help.
What's the word?
I don't think it's the same people now. It's not the same Nigerians that we're going to put in there.
I think all you are trying to do is just to devolve the oppression or the brutalization.
Exactly. And you know what? You know what I feel
I
about
think
this
that's
state policing thing, right? I'm up for it. I understand like the bigger picture, and I know that at the end of the day, we'll need to have state police and even community police. As local government, anyhow, small micro community policing and everything. But then, the current way that it is right now, if the ideology of the police officers are not changed and the police force is not changed and the police and the state governors are not changed, what you're going to be having is war. They're going to be doing state versus states. Oppression is going to be used for to oppress people during elections. Like if PDP is in control of a state, or if a particular political party is in control of a state, and they are the ones that are in charge of that police force, I feel like the opposition wouldn't even stand a chance, right? So, I feel like before that is if that the state policing is done, the total reform the total reform will need to come at once. Change the mindset, change the ideology, change the people. Change the people, because when you still have all those bad eggs, we've had scenarios. Not that we even know that some of these people, like there are some of the Alga at the top, as they say it in Nigeria, would give them targets, go and bring this amount of money for me. So all of those little police officers have to go out to the streets and they have to meet up with those targets that they've given them. I know there's a lot of reform that is being done right now, and we are trying to, like, because everybody's like the eyes of like the people are is on everybody. Everybody's shining their eye right now, so everybody's trying to like package and everything, but it's still showing. Once in a while you still see all those things. Not even once in a while, almost every month or almost every week you still see one video where some officers are misbehaving and everything like that. So I think that state policing is not going to change anything. It's still the same Nigerians that are there, that you know
So
I
this
mean,
whole thing is one of the this thing they said during the NSAS, right? They said there were 5 demands that were made, and there are many people that are pro government or the pro current government, because when you say that, it's like you're just generally not pro government. We're pro good government, right? Yeah. So the people that are pro, let's say the current government, will tell you that there were demands that were made during the NSAS protest, which includes like immediate release of the people that were arrested, and there was also justice for all the people that were brutalized. There was also setting an independent body to investigate police misconduct, and then there was the psychological evaluation of SARS operatives before they deploy them. And then they also talked about salary increment for police officers. So many people would actually tell you that these things has been sorted out. And the part I wanted to highlight is the psychological evaluation of the people that are in the force. I think that's one of the things that maybe it embodies reorientating these people. And that's why I just thought, okay, how did they say they've done it? It's not supposed to be something that they said, okay, we started today and we ended 10 days after. It's supposed to be a long and a continuous process. We're supposed to see it in the curriculum that they are teaching boys that even in school, let's say even command secondary schools, or in, just this thing is not supposed to be something that they'll say, oh, we've done it today. Now, after 1 month, it's done. We've served your whatever you asked for. And that's why we still see people on the other side of the divide saying, you actually have not done what we asked you to do, what we've asked of you. So what's the solution moving forward, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to hear more about that, and then we can,
yeah, I guess if it's left to me, I think there is a need for complete disband of the Nigerian police. It will make a lot of them actually lose their jobs, right? But if you still want to stay in the process of saying you want to reform, the first set of things that think needs to be done is to insert more control and monitoring in the current structure. If you still want to keep it, right? And to insert more control, we've been talking about body cam, right? And then penalties for when you put it off, when you shouldn't put it off. And then they need to also manage the way Nigerian police carry guns.
yes.
You just see people appearing anywhere with gun. And while we were growing up then, what we usually see with the police more, right, is this baiting. That's what they carry him on, and that's where the idea of Kondo Oloba came from. Even if they wanted to probably brutalize you, then they probably will use that. But now people can just accidentally, quote and unquote, discharge. And then you start wondering, like, accidental discharge, how do we even explain that you are talking at accidental discharge? And don't forget that SARS has not ended. A lot of people might think SARS has ended. The name has changed. SARS has not ended because a lot of people are still being accosted by some set of people who classify themselves as, is it SWAT or something? Yeah, they're still getting accosted, arrested, dealt with by these people. So the message is simple. If we are going to get this right, we need to exert more control on the Nigerian police. We need to also ensure that accountability becomes a very important part of it. If you carry any bullet out of office, right, that is, if they still allow them to keep carrying guns, if you carry bullet out of office, there's a need for you to account for how you use each and every. Because people just, there was this guy I was with recently, and in the course of the conversation, we met. Actually, we were coming together, of course, in the car, and then what we found out. Are you there, please? Hello, hello.
Yes, yes.
So we were actually in transit together, and what we found out was the fact that he was telling us that behind a certain place in Lagos, he saw a dump of people who had died after NSAS. So the policemen who might have killed those people, if it were policemen that killed them, right? If they are the kind that accounts for the bullets that they use every day, don't you think to some extent it might help curb that? You might not just be able to discharge bullet anyhow because you have to account for each and every of those. And then how do they manage guns? Do they take it home? And why are we having all these rifles everywhere? Any policing that I know, they carry a lot of shotguns, pistols. But why do we have big guns now in the hand of policemen?
On the road.
Because easily be mismanaged. You understand?
Does that make it different?
So that's where I stand. I think, I think it makes a difference.
How does it make it different?
Because anybody who is going to tell you that they accidentally discharge a pistol, right, will have a lot of convincing to do. But if you carry
police brutality is still on the high, and it's being done with pistols. So does that make any difference?
No, are you hearing? Look at the two this thing now. Do you usually hear things about accidental discharge? It's few and far between now. So it's few. So the case I am trying to make here is that that's long gone in itself. The gun should not be with them. That's where I hold. Except maybe they are going on special operations, maybe against armed robbery, amongst other things. But if you are going to carry gun at all, carry pistols. When you carry rifles, it seems like we're in a police state, right? You shouldn't even have a gun in the first place. Don't forget that. So when you install this kind of control, when you
have
install
a gun
accountability
in the first place,
I think that's what I've been saying. They shouldn't even have a gun in the first place, except when the case. What are you supposed to do? Maintain law and order. Are you fighting a war? You're not fighting a war.
So how do you?
Armed robbery incident, I think it's one of the things that led to the proliferation of firearm amongst policemen, majorly. And then the point is, when you get, like you said, you were calling them because there was an issue in your area. When they're coming for such, yeah, they can come with guns. But you're going home and you're carrying gun home. What for exactly? I don't understand. You're carrying rifle home. We have had policemen accidentally discharge and kill their families. Right? We've had that too. So to avoid
a few people have proposed like rubber bullets instead of the real
So
bullet.
what does the rubber bullet do?
Live
Does it
bullet,
take
yeah?
you down?
It just inflicts harm.
But it wouldn't kill, I guess.
It wouldn't kill. That's the point people are making. Like when you shoot live bullet, it tends to actually cause a lot
But then
more damage.
when people now know that okay, these guys are licensed to, or what they have is rubber bullets, don't you think that they will now be more tempted to push the police guys around?
Do you think it is
The police too needs to be protected, right? So I don't think that the
Is this the bullet that stops the crime? Has it stopped
It's
the
it's
so
the it's the it's the
It's
it's the
not the bullet
knowledge
that
that a police officer can take you out if you do anyhow, right? That's what stops the crime.
The, th-
the
the thing
knowledge should
is, you
not
don't
exist.
know how many rubber bullets you have, and you don't know how many life bullets they have. So you
You
cannot be playing like that.
see,
You will not gamble.
I think we are making the conversation a little
But
bit
then
narrow. I think where we should probably look at here is to speak to the fact that are they not taught how to disarm people in the police academy? Are they not taught? Don't forget that the policeman is not just an everyday civilian. Of course, he lives among the civilian, but he has some special trainings. So if you need gun, right, to actually be able to maintain law and order, why don't you just give everybody gun then so that they can protect themselves? I don't know, maybe this makes sense. Because I
I don't
think
think that would be a good idea in
when,
Nigeria to give everybody a
when
gun.
no, I'm not saying they should give everybody a gun. I'm just saying if you have to actually make them
Yeah.
carry gun all the time, why don't you give people the gun? Because it's practically is more or less like proliferation of arm. That's what I'm saying. And people will now say it gets to an extent where they are accusing policemen of actually helping armed robbers to get gun. Have you not heard such? If there's somebody who controls that invention and people don't have to carry gun home, will that become a
But those
thing?
all those things you're saying,
I
it's
think
not
it's
in
more
our
about
new
accountability.
rebranded police force now. It's in the days of old.
Who said so?
So
We have seen
so
policemen.
weird.
If you go on the street of Nigeria, yeah, if you go on the street of Nigeria, you see policemen carrying gun home.
I,
Yeah, so and another thing that I want to
I,
say again is like I've seen like just like it reminds me of when you were talking about like removing policemen like from the barracks and just letting them live amongst the people, right? That would solve a lot of this aggression that they feel because they would now feel like like normal civilians, and they feel like us, which is what we need to push for, so they don't feel like, oh, they are superior to this people, right? But one like evidence or one real life scenario that I think that might be a good example of that is that most times when you see these police officers inside the bus alone, just by themselves, they're not as aggressive as when they're in their group. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, if you've been like in public transportation with all these police officers, sometimes they'll even be inside the bus and you'll be abusing police and they don't even say anything. They just keep quiet. But I feel like there's this thing that when they're amongst their guys, which is, they become a little bit more aggressive and everything. So I think that idea of like, moving them out of like the barracks, I think it makes more sense, and making we need to have more social integration, like, again, I always say that if I have that opportunity, even if I can even do it as a like a normal citizen, I would like for us to have all this kind of community meetings between the people and the police. Let's, sometimes when you're so angry with someone and then you talk things out, you get to understand their point of view. Sometimes they've not paid, their children might be sick or something may be going wrong. So imagine if you have this kind of community social integration between the people and the police, maybe every Saturday or last a month. They can even be like a football match between the police and the and citizens, and they come out, we hang out, we talk about, oh, this thing that you guys are doing is not right, the way you guys drive, and we too can also talk back to them without any, and it just creates that kind of social integration that can foster a better cooperation between Nigerians and then the police force. So it's just an idea that just keeps on popping in my head from time to time.
it's a good idea that people do that, but even there are even ways to even do it easier these days. Zoom, right? Technology makes it very easy to do a lot of things nowadays, and a lot of people participate. Even if it's a Facebook page, everybody's on Facebook. Even if it's a WhatsApp group, whose
Yeah,
parent
some
is
people
not on
just want to
WhatsApp,
be rude
right?
when it's
So
online.
there
Some will
may,
just want to be unnecessary. People have these pseudo
yeah,
characters when
yeah,
they're online, but when it's like real, it's those people who really want to integrate. Um,
yeah, you make sense because at the end of the day, a terrorist has a mom who is living in the neighborhood, many people know these terrorists among themselves, right? They will not rat them out until it becomes very dire that they cannot just do without not saying anything. But all of these people, the police has siblings, they have families, they have parents that would know the ills that they are doing. So yeah, if there was the social integration in such a way that many people would speak out, then maybe yeah, definitely. I think I see the point in that. But let's try to round up and just give us your round up thoughts, and let's hear what you have to say regarding all of these things that's going on. Solution, process, problems. Let's hear you.
Okay, for me, I don't think it's I think we've already said it all. I think like this last idea is something that I just keeps on running through my mind. How we can like integrate more, when they are not on uniform and we're not on suit and tie rushing to work, or we can just have, because we need the police is needed. You cannot have a society without police. So no matter how angry we are, no matter how aggrieved that we are as people, we are still going to need these guys. And they also need the job too. They need the job, they need the money. So I think it's an inevitable relationship. So in order for us to coexist better, I think that it's high time that there needs to be intentional programs that will bring the people closer, much closer to their police force. There are problems. The problems that they feel as police officers is the same thing that we also feel too. No light at home, maybe the hospitals are not good, the sun is too hot, all those things. The problems they feel, it's not different from the problems that we feel. They don't have different problems. So I think that if there can be a way that we can have social integration, I feel like it will make much sense. As also for me, again, the idea of having like body cams and dashboard cams, so that there's no too much story. We know who is at fault. We know that some Nigerians too can be somehow at times, because we can't just be one-sided that, oh yeah, the police is only the problem. Yes, we still know that some Nigerians can behave somehow sometimes, but then majority of the wahala is from this force men. So I think like if we have those dashboard cams for their cars, and we have those body cams for their bodies, on their bodies, and then we have more CCTV cameras all across. I feel like the government should I know that the government can actually provide CCTV cameras across major spots in the country, but I feel like there needs to also be this intentional policy or intentional memo put out to private companies. Like everybody should have at least one CCTV camera in front of your gates, in front of your house. Now, some of those things are cheaper. I feel like government should try and motivate people so that we can actually capture so many of these moments that may not be necessarily planned or whatsoever. You understand what I'm trying to say, right? So if there can be those policies from the government to encourage people to get like CCTV cameras, put them in their shops, their offices, I think that would also help us reduce the crime rates around and capture some of those moments.
Right. It's important, right, that the police are actually our friends. It's not just a right, it's not just a slogan out there that nobody cares about. Yes, like you said, police is very important. We care for the welfare of the police, we care for the welfare of the people, we care for where everybody is at mentally, both the police and both the citizens of Nigeria. So yes, definitely justice should prevail, and everybody should be able to do everything in their own capacity to bring justice to the forefront. And when we say justice, we really mean justice, not some bias kind of justice. Just, okay, this is what is on the table. And justice cuts across. When we are saying justice, when we are talking about police brutality, maybe some people might think we are saying lock up somebody. Justice also comes with economy. We've said that before, but it can never be overemphasized. If many people were being paid what they're supposed to be paid, maybe they wouldn't be as frustrated. If the road networks were working, if people had lights, if all of these things were functioning properly, then maybe there'll just be less frustration, and there'll be no reason why some people would come out to be
on my own final note, though.
Mm-hmm.
police is not your friend. Avoid them as much as possible. And then put it
That's
in
the
mind.
reality.
Put
That's
it in
the
mind.
reality. And what are we going? Okay.
Put it in mind that until the current rulership, I'm not saying administrators, I'm not saying governors, I'm not saying president, until the current
Rulership.
rulership structure of Nigeria is disbanded, and that aura of imperialism and colonialism completely obliterated, don't trust the Nigerian police. They will
Yes.
always be
So
against you.
so it seems like you're saying the police is not your friend, as far something that is disagreeing with what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that the police should, in a functioning society, the police should be your friend. So yes, when all of those things go out of the way, we should properly get to a place where that could work, where there's a rulership that is for the people and the police that's for the people. I think this is a right place to end the conversation today, and we'll see you in our next episode. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Yeah.